pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the singing of our national anthem. I will proceed chorus under the direction of Ms. Jeannie Williams. Today, across the country, veterans are honored for their immense sacrifices and unending bravery. The day is especially significant for our CSRA community due to the proximity of Fort Gordon and the many military families, past and present, who live there. Many members of our prep community have members of the military in their families, some of which we are honoring on our slideshow. To continue our assembly, I'm going to turn the microphone over to our Vice President, J.R. Weber.
Hello, and good afternoon. My name is J.R. Weber, and I serve as the Student Council Vice President. I am the proud son, grandson, and nephew of 4 members in the military. My mom, Colonel Diana Weber, my dad, Lieutenant Colonel Jake Weber, my grandfather, Colonel retired Don Wells, and my uncle, Colonel Mike Wells. We are honored today to be in the presence of multiple veterans. I'd like to take the moment to recognize them. Please stand and remain standing as I call your name, and after each name, we'll do a regular double clap. First, we have Mr. Chip Kirksey, Mr. Finn McDowell, and Mr. Eric Miller. On behalf of our entire prep committee, thank you for your service.
It is now my honor to invite Lieutenant Colonel Jason Quinn to the stage. Lieutenant Colonel Jason Quinn is an Army Judge Advocate currently assigned as the Deputy Staff Judge Advocate for Army Cyber Command at Fort Gordon, Georgia. Lieutenant Colonel Quinn began his Army career in 2010 after receiving degrees from both the University of Northern Colorado and the George Mason University School of Law. During the last 15 years, he has served in a variety of legal positions, including as a prosecutor, National Security Law Advisor for Middle East Operations, and Senior Legal Counsel for a Special Operations Unit. Lieutenant Colonel Quinn has been stationed throughout the United States and around the world, including 2 tours in Germany and deployments into Afghanistan and Qatar. He's married to Augusta Prep's 5th and 6th grade English teacher, Miss Erin Quinn, and they have 2 teenage children, Dominic and Darcy. Please give Lieutenant Colonel Quinn a warm welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. And thanks very much to Thomas Lane and JR. I also want to thank Augusta Prep for inviting me here today, as well as Mr. Shedd and Ms. Hatcher for personally extending the invitation. You may notice that although I'm currently an Army officer, I'm not in uniform today. This is because I'm here today to tell my personal story and share my personal story, and not necessarily to represent the Army, the Department of Defense, the United States government. It is a real honor to stand here before you on Veterans Day, a day when we pause from our busy lives to say thank you to the men and women who have served in our nation's armed forces. And I'd like to start by offering my personal thank you to the veterans in the audience today. No matter when you served or for how long, you paved the way for those of us who followed, and you made sacrifices along the way that deserve our gratitude. So thank you. I also want to thank those of you who have grandparents or parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, or other family members. I know how challenging it can be to have a loved one in the military, and your sacrifices and support are just as important. When one person serves, their whole family serves too. So I just want to remind everyone what Veterans Day is about. So Veterans Day did not begin as Veterans Day. Its history as a day of recognition began after World War I, when it was originally known as Armistice Day, to mark the anniversary of the peace agreement ending what was called the Great War. Armistice Day was celebrated annually on November 11th because the armistice itself went into effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. At first, it honored only the soldiers who fought in World War I. But after World War II and the Korean War, President Dwight Eisenhower, himself a veteran, signed a law changing the name to Veterans Day so it would honor all who served, men and women, in peace and in war, in every branch and in every role. It's not a day about celebrating war. It's a day about recognizing sacrifice and the service of millions of Americans across generations. Service and sacrifice can mean different things to different people, but I want to tell you a little bit about what it means to me. The reason I originally chose to serve was actually about inspiration. I have several family members who served in the military, including a great-grandfather and a grandfather, both of whom I was close to while growing up. My great-grandfather, whose parents immigrated from Italy, joined the Army Air Corps, which later became the Air Force during World War II, where he served as a navigator on the B-17 Flying Fortress and other aircraft, guiding pilots through bombing runs during World War II and the Korean War. My grandfather was the child of Irish immigrants, and he was a codebreaker and submariner in the Navy, intercepting and translating Soviet messages throughout the Cold War. Their stories of hard, sometimes dangerous work were exciting because they included adventure in faraway places such as Germany, Korea, the Philippines, or in the depths of the Pacific Ocean. But they were inspiring because of the meaning behind it. At the heart of every story was an act of service and participation in the history of our country. For my great-grandfather, his time in the Army Air Corps and Air Force meant building a life in the United States for his family while helping secure the U.S. and the world against the greatest threats it faced in the 20th century. For my grandfather, his service also helped strengthen his family's foundations in the United States and played a part in preventing the Cold War from becoming a third World War. I ultimately chose military service with them in mind because they were inspiring to me. I wanted to be like them and contribute something bigger than myself and maybe be an inspiration to others, especially my two children. Of course, that does sometimes mean sacrifice, like the frequent moves that uproot my family from the homes and friends that they've grown to love, the two-year-long deployments when I couldn't be with my family, and the times when my fellow service members, including those I knew and worked with, did not make it home. To balance that sacrifice, I hope my service has meaning similar to my great-grandfathers and my grandfathers. As a judge advocate, which is the military's term for a lawyer, one of my roles is to provide legal advice during military operations around the world, to make sure they follow our Constitution while ensuring the safety and security of the United States. This has often meant advising on military operations that shape our nation's history, like the global war on terrorism throughout the 2010s, the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021, and humanitarian aid efforts in the Middle East in 2024. So like my great-grandfather, my grandfather had the privilege of participating in the history of our country. But even more important to me is who I am serving. Everything I do, in uniform or in out, is driven by the desire to create opportunities for my wife and two kids to flourish, to find their own ways to serve others. And when I am in uniform, my hope is that my service plays some small role in doing the same for all of you, for your families and for the millions of families across our country who depend on a daily sense of safety and security to go to school, play sports, make art, do the other things they love, and fulfill their greatest potential. My story of service is one of military service, but it's only my story. On Veterans Day, it's important to remember that anyone can create their own story by being part of something bigger than themselves and uplifting those around them. I'd like to thank and think of the teachers and administrators and staff here at Augusta Prep who work every day to create the best possible learning environment for every student. They serve this community through dedication and care in the classroom, and nights and weekends spent outside of the classroom, coaching sports, grading papers, and preparing lessons. And service in any community doesn't have to be something large or dramatic. Even a small gesture that places someone else first, like doing the dishes for a sibling, helping a teammate, or offering a kind word to someone who is feeling down, are meaningful acts of service available to anyone. Those small moments matter. They build the habits of empathy, humility, and leadership that define real service. So as we celebrate Veterans Day, I hope you also take a moment to think about how you might serve others in your own life. With even a small act of service, you might also find that you are an inspiration to others, inspiring a friend, a family member, or maybe someone you don't even know to make the community a better place. So thank you again to everyone here at Augusta Prep and to all the veterans and the families in the audience today. It's truly an honor to share this day with you today. And before I turn it back over to JR and Thomas Lane, I think we do have a couple minutes if anybody has any questions about me or my service. Yes, in the red hat. Yeah, if you would, so everybody can see who's speaking.
So, my name is Chandler, Baltimore, and I want to ask how important is patriotism as a word that you serve?
So Chandler, I believe, asked how important patriotism is to me as I serve. And I think patriotism is a very important value. We all stood here today, pledged allegiance to the flag, and sang the national anthem. And I think one of the things that patriotism does is I reference community as part of my speech. And I think it helps build a national community where everybody feels like they're pulling in the same direction and have something that they're aspiring towards. And so patriotism at its best, I think, is something that brings all of us together in that way. See a question in the corner over there.
Have you ever fought in like a war or like a fight or like that?
Yeah, great question. So I have deployed twice. I deployed once to Afghanistan in 2013 to 2014. I also deployed to Qatar from 2023 to 2024 at a time when there was a lot of conflict in the Middle East. I personally have not been involved in combat, but I've been in those locations while combat has been going on. And part of my role as a military attorney is to advise commanders as they direct those combat operations and then support the people that are actually engaged in combat overseas.
Was it hard to support your family when you were gone?
Yeah, great question. That's absolutely the hardest thing about my military service is being away from my family. It's very challenging to be apart from the ones that you love, especially there's always going to be tough times during a deployment, and you want to be there to support your family, but you're thousands of miles away, so it is a very difficult thing. But ultimately, I hope those types of sacrifices are part of what makes my service worthwhile and meaningful and helpful to others.
Knowing that you're serving your country, does it bring you like satisfaction and joy that you've served your country well and that you've helped them?
Yeah, thank you. So it absolutely does bring a sense of satisfaction, and I think it comes from that service aspect. So whether it's military service or other types of service, that's what I find personally satisfying in my personal life, and then also in my professional life. So being in uniform and being able to perform that type of service for others is a very satisfying thing to do.
Did you enlist or commission?
So I commissioned as an officer. So I went in after graduating law school. I had a college degree, graduated law school, and then went directly into the Army as an officer. All right, great. Thank you, everyone. I think I'm going to turn it back over to Jay.